What's up, guys and girls? So today I'm going to read a quote from Reddit from a random person on Reddit called Nick TDS. I don't know who he is. He's a complete stranger, but in my opinion, his advice is very good for this topic. And so if you read the topic of this video, it is going to be on playing games and how guys think girls are constantly playing games. Now, Jenna Marbles recently released a video. No, I don't watch Jenna Marbles often, but she has a video, and I don't know how I stumbled across it or watched it, but she mentioned in it how girls aren't always playing games. They're just trying to feel out the guy. The reason that they may sometimes, step inside and outside of the circle and put one foot in, one foot out, and aren't really sure about meeting up with you or whatever is probably because they're still trying to feel you out and see if you are the right kind of fit. Do I personally agree with that? Not completely. I do think that some girls play games, but it is true to a certain extent. And so this bit of advice is from this guy Nick TDS, and I think it makes a lot of sense, and it sort of clarifies some points on are girls playing games, and not just girls. Some guys play games too, and both parties legitimately play games, but not all parties do, and those others this quote's going to explain. So let's just get started here. You're going at dating in a very logical way, and unfortunately it doesn't work like that. He's responding to the original Reddit post, which pretty much is this guy. It was posted 2 years ago, and he's saying pretty much that he is always very direct with girls, and he hates it when they're playing games and so forth, and he feels like he doesn't want to do that anymore because he's a mature adult and he should just be like, hey, I like you, we should go out sometime. And he hates all this push-pull playing games nonsense. And so that's obviously a lot like how I am in certain ways. And so I think this quote helps me out. It may help some others out, and I feel like my channel reaches a few other people, and it does give another perspective. So enough of the sermon, let's get started. You're going at dating in a very logical way, and unfortunately it doesn't work like that. I'd like to add, it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes it can. You can't convince a girl into liking you. She has to feel it. The best way to do that is through your actions. Flirting and connecting on a deeper level is not playing games. It's courtship. She's learning about you, you're learning about her, and she has to develop romantic feelings for you. You can't force them into her. So I do think that that is a fairly valid point. For the most part, I still have, there's always exceptions to a rule. However, it's really true. A lot of guys and some girls think there's some game playing. If you're a girl and it's a guy doing it, there's a higher chance that he's playing games, because guys like me are fairly, for the most part, direct and simple. And so flirting and connecting on deeper level, if it's a girl, however, it can make sense to a certain extent. But I do know for sure, again, keep your guard up, that there are a lot of girls, especially the ones who you can just tell they thrive off of it, and they do a lot of playing games with a lot of people, but not all of them. And so it does make sense that there needs to be some sort of flirting and connection. And so, like, this guy is probably doing what I've done before in the past, which was just very straight up honest. From the get-go, I like you. Do you want to go on a date sometime? And his next part of the advice will further elaborate this. So yes, you will shoot yourself in the foot with many girls bluntly asking like that. It puts too much pressure, isn't generating positive emotions, and even if she likes you, you put her in an awkward position. Honestly, I've read a lot of advice on Reddit, in the comments and in the original post. A lot of it is pure crap. and there's a lot of arguing, and sometimes it gets very subjective. But I really think that this is, for the most part, fairly solid. I agree almost wholeheartedly. Again, there's always exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, like 80 to 90%, definitely puts too much pressure. And I'll give you a good example. Quite recently, very recently, I went up to a girl, and again, I am not some master at this. So I went up to this girl, and I think I talked to her, but even though I was not that direct, like, it was direct enough. I went up to her, and my opener was something like, I wanted to come talk to you, or something like that. And this was at the gym. And surprisingly, for the first time, this was a fairly attractive girl, and she was actually responding fairly positively. However, I got sort of nervous, and I didn't know what to do from there. And so I was like, this, I maybe it was because I was, sort of freaked out myself. Like, this is kind of a stranger. I don't know where to progress from here. Should I really ask her out on a date? I mean, I don't have the time for that. And so I just, said some brief stuff, what's your major and so forth. And then I went on my way. I said goodbye. Didn't see her again for, I would say, a couple weeks. And by couple, I mean maybe two-ish weeks. And then one day I bump into her again in the cafeteria diner. Our college is very, very large. And so, no, it's not a bump in where I actually, bump into her. I see her from afar. I think she sees me from afar. And I'm like, oh. And I'm at a point where this sort of thing doesn't really bother me. But I was just a little surprised. So I wasn't really sure what to do. So I just went about my way. And therein lies the problem, because in those situations, you are like, you've put too much pressure on this scenario, and both parties know what's up. This guy likes you. He doesn't just view you platonically. He likes you. He's expressed that more than enough. Granted, I wasn't as verbally direct, but the idea was signified non-verbally, and girls are usually more attuned to that, so they pick it up quicker. So again, as you can see, I'm fairly analytical, and I sometimes am fairly logical and dissect things a little much. So the point is, therein created an awkward situation, because there's too much pressure up front, and it was an unusual situation on most people's standards, where things were already established a little bit too much, and we didn't really have a chance to feel out any connections or so forth beyond a very shallow first initial conversation. And so it was just very weird, and I just ended up walking out, and I was like, I don't even feel like approaching or talking. It's just too weird. She knows what's up already. I was very direct, and it just didn't feel right. I sensed some sort of anxiety from her too, or maybe it was just me. I don't know. And I was thinking in my mind, maybe I should have gone in more indirect, but I don't know. It wouldn't have worked if it was indirect. Maybe it would have. I don't know. So let's continue with his advice. Why not laugh and have an awesome adventure? Why not share your interests, passions, and stories together? Why playfully tease and flirt with her? Why not get some physical contact in and then go for a kiss? Most of the time, when a guy says, I just want to know straight out and cut out bullshit, they're afraid of making a move. They're afraid of putting themselves out there and feeling vulnerable. By leaving it to a single sentence, you can say, well, I made it known, and that's all I could do, and protect your feelings if things go wrong. I don't necessarily agree with that. Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I think it's more so that guys are very simplistic, and they don't, I mean, they're very, sometimes they're very physical, and so they're just like, she looks pretty, that's good enough. Whereas I feel like maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I know there's some girls that are very physical too, but I feel like girls are generally slightly more emotional driven, so they want to feel things out and see if there's some sort of chemistry there. Um, Even for a hookup scenario, I believe. So, continuing on, he says, focus on the experience rather than the end result. Have a fun time, get to know each other. Flirt a lot, get a little physical, and go for a kiss. You'll know if she's into you or not, trust me. She's either going to kiss you back or tell you she's not ready. Doesn't see you like that, etc. At least with this way, you're greatly improving your chances. And then the original poster responds with, and I'm reading this for the first time along with you guys. I don't know, I didn't used to think this way when it came to women. I guess I got tired of trying to build a relationship with a girl, only later to find out that they were never interested in me, or I got friend zoned. And so this continues on for pages and pages of replies. I'm not gonna read all that. Nobody's got time for that. But herein lies a guy who's he's probably established some sort of goal in mind based off seeing the girl and being physically attracted. Oh, she's pretty, that's good enough for me. And then he goes in and gets very much disappointed by being friend zoned, or having the girl not interested in you, pretty much not even wanting friendship at all. And I think this backfires. I made a video recently. It was titled something like the how to approach the friend zone full guide, and in it I talk about the value of having a girl as a friend, regardless of whether she likes you as more than a friend or not. But just to wrap this whole thing up, the only thing is I don't completely agree with that thing where making a move or doing it all in one sentence is some sort of cop out. Really, it takes a tremendous amount of courage, and sometimes it's a direct route, and sometimes it's the best route in my opinion, because I mean, there are situations where you pussyfoot around for months on end, or you come to a situation where you're probably not going to see the girl again unless you make a more direct, clear move. And so I don't agree with this being some sort of cop-out. So I don't agree with that quote. However, playing it out, I feel like it can work, but at the same time, you know what, these things don't always lead to stuff either. So I do think that there is some level of discussion between both parties that should be done, but there reaches a threshold where things get too weird, too fluffy, and it can be a game of one party leading the other party on and playing games, and one party or both parties knowing that this is simply just a mind game or ego boost. I feel like there are definitely girls out there who, and guys out there who they do it for the ego boost, and they know deep down that they don't want anything from this guy other than the ego boost, the constant attention and adoration through text messages or phone calls, and they always do it to get some sort of ego boost when their main man is disregarding her or whatever. And so there is a threshold, and so if you get to that point, you don't want to do it. But I think the message here is that if you're very cut and dry like this person, and you're like, all I want to do is go straight up to her, ask her out, no games, no questions, and by doing so I am the moral person who's very simplistic, not trying to play games or manipulate others. And why is it that all girls are evil and play games? I think that's stretching it slightly more than necessary. I mean, you have a good heart with those intentions, if those are your intentions. That's probably somewhat like me. However, I do think the thing is like you do. It's more than that. And I think the key sentence from his quote is that flirting and connecting on a deeper level is not playing games. It's courtship. She's learning about you. You're learning about her, and she has to develop feelings for you. You can't force them into her. I think this is on all levels, and quite honestly, long story short, I'm not some sort of dating expert. I honestly don't know jack ish about this, but it's an interesting topic of discussion, and that's about it. I'll see you guys later. As always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in my next video.